Hey, we're live. We're live. Mostly me. I'm live. Hello. And welcome to another episode of Sound Booth Theater Live. Requests only. Woo! This is our first requests only in this decade. Crazy enough. Oh, we got some people watching. Hello, people watching. And as always, my name is Justin Thomas James. I am a narrator with Sound Booth Theater. Um, yeah, we make audiobooks. If you don't know who we are, I'm very surprised that you're watching this because this seems like a very niche sort of market. I don't think that people would stumble across this randomly. But anyways, yes, we produce audiobooks and we do sound effects and multicast and all that fun stuff. No sound effects and no multicast today. It's just me by myself in my hat, wearing my church clothes. Yeah, I went to church today. First time in a long time I went to church and I didn't burn alive, so that's a good sign. Yeah, so what are we doing today? Well, I've got a few, meaning 3 different selections that we're going to be going through that you guys voted on. Let's see. Yeah. So one of them was seeded from last time where I was sick. Last time I tried to do Sound Booth Theater Live, I was quite sick and I could only make it through 2 selections. So we carried it forward, and that is Abhishek Basu's Dungeons of Perdition. And then we have what I believe is a Russian translated book. I'm assuming I'm making assumptions here because the author's name is Sergei Katz, which I believe is a Russian name. I could be completely wrong. I'm going to apologize if I'm spreading misinformation. So yes, we have Sergei Katz's Changing World, and last but not least, we have Aaron Oster's Animal Kingdom Riot, who I believe is Ari Ostreicher. Say hello if you're watching. I see Benjamin Wagner is watching. Hello, Benjamin. How are you doing today? The good thing about doing a stream where it's, not really planned and announced, it's only announced 20 minutes before, is that it tends to be pretty mellow. It tends to, the chat allows for more one-to-one conversations. So I'm going to be interacting with you guys more. Benjamin, how are you doing? What's new? Feel free to chat more, unless you just said hello and then left. That's fine too. As you can see, we are powered by StreamYard. That's because I have not paid for this program. It's a free program, which is actually it's a really great streaming program. I'm really happy with StreamYard. Lot less nonsense than OBS. As you can see, I'm wearing my special glasses that have a blue light filter in them. So is why you can see the blue reflection there. It's helping my eyes to reduce eye strain. Apparently, holy crap! Not too bad. Been busy. Just watched your team win. Oh, that sounds like a football thing. Football things are happening these days, so I assume it's a football thing. Correct me if I'm wrong. We've got Tri Nguyen. Hello, Tree. Love my work as Mace. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, Dark Elf Chronicles, a fun series to narrate, and Mace is a fun character to play. We have Rasta Life Reggae. Hey, man. That's horrible. Horrible. I'll just stop. Number 1 fan, is that you? Or is that somebody else? Who's my number 1 fan? Hello, welcome. Is your name actually Rasta Life? What do we name our child, honey? I've got just the thing. Maybe it's Rasta Life Reggie. Is it Reginald? Yeah, we got Abhishek Basu, the author of Dungeon to Perdition, which I might start with Dungeon to Perdition since Abhishek is here. And he's the first author to say hello. Yeah, maybe I'll start with that. Maybe that's my new way. This is the way. If you say hello and you're an author and I'm supposed to read the stuff. You were very disappointed that we didn't do any more CBGs. I know. It was a tough call for Harmon. And it was disappointing, but at the end of the day, um it's important that these things move forward, and sound booth theater, like, we're inundated. We've got lots of projects that are going, and I wish that we could get to things sooner. But from what I hear, PJ did a fantastic job. He's, one narrator. It's hard to be one narrator and follow in the footsteps of multiple narrators, especially with something like CBG and, book 5. But given the circumstances, from what I've heard and listened to, I think he did a great job. So yes, while I do miss the CBG universe, I'm glad that it kept on going, and I'm glad that Harmon found his way. And I'm looking forward to doing more of that sort of thing. I don't know if you've had a chance to check out We Could Be Heroes, but that's a fun one that Harmon put together. Harmon and then Sound Booth Theater, and we'll be producing book 2 at some point this year. Oh, it's Yoshi. Hey, Yoshi. Good to see you again. Breaker from X Heroes was done great as well. Breaker, yes, Breaker is a lot of fun to play. In fact, we've got a little bit of a we produced Supers 5 and 6 together because they're both shorter. They're shorter books. I think Supers 5 is 6 hours, and we're used to producing 12-hour audiobooks, so um we produced 5 and 6 together, which means that you just got 5. 6 is going to be coming out too, I think, within the month that 5 was released. I'm just going to double check to confirm that. Supers 5. Yeah, so Supers 5. Also, glorious cover on Supers X Heroes 5. Have you seen that cover? It is epic. I think it's one of my favorite covers that I've ever seen. Um, Really, really, really well done. Whoever the artist is, kudos. So yes, Supers X Heroes 5 came out December 27th. And Supers X Heroes 6 is probably going to come out soon. It's definitely going to be uploaded before a month after Supers 5. It'll probably be available around the same date, if not a little bit after, depending on how long Audible takes to get that out. So yeah, look forward to that. When are we doing another D&D campaign? Guys, we are a narrating channel. We narrate books that have already been done. We did do the D&D stream, and that was fun. You guys seemed to enjoy that, but it's not our forte. It's not what our strength is. I think that we probably will do something like that again, but I'm going to make a recommendation right now. That I've been a part of something called the Invictus stream for about 5 years now. It's been a while, and it's what we do. It's every week Wednesday at 8 o'clock. For 5 years we've been putting on live role-playing streams. Check it out, the Invictus stream. You can find it on YouTube. But what I highly recommend, I've kind of taken a step back from the live streaming portion of role-playing games, because guys, it 5 years of doing it, it takes its toll on you. You're coming up with a story every week. And at first, I had a lot of creativity at my disposal because it was before I got into narrating, and I just needed an outlet like that, and it was perfect. But now that I've been pouring a lot of my creativity into sound booth theater, it's so much more of a difficult task, a draining task, to work up the energy to be creative again for live streaming, and then live streaming for 3 hours straight when we're busy, we got lots of things on our plate. So live streaming is tough. Something like this where the content's already made for me, it's no problem. But for something where I have to come up with the story, I have to lead the players if I'm doing the game master or dungeon master, and yeah, that stuff, just it's very tiring. So I've taken a step back from that, long story short, and I'm no longer doing the live streams every week. I'll probably pop on every now and then. It's run by my good friends Joe and Harlan. But what I will recommend is that you guys listen to audiobooks. You guys can listen to podcasts too. Great thing about podcasts is most of them are free. The Invictus stream, as a way of kind of maintaining our um audience, and but not having to live stream every week, is we started a podcast called Dice Shame. And we are on, I believe, episode 14 just went live, and episode 15 is going to be coming out or something like that. And we just play D&D, and it's a lot of fun. And I wish that there was something that you guys could watch, like myself, Jeff Hayes, Andrea Parsoneau, like the Sound Booth Theater crew play D&D. But until that happens, guys, I highly recommend you check out Dice Shame. You can find it at diceshamepodcast.com. You can check it out right now, download the episodes, listen to them at work tomorrow. We put out a 45-minute episode every week, and it's so much fun. It's a really different vibe when you're just sitting around the table with your friends and you got the mics going, but it's not live. So it's a different, you're not really performing. Like, you are still trying to be, present and paying attention to what's going on. And making sure that you are, speaking into the microphone and doing technical things. But it's so much more about the fun and the characters and the people that you're with, rather than the audience that you're performing for. Because when you're live, that's so much more front and center, than when you're just recording it. And then we get to edit it and clean it up and make it sound perfect, which was always a struggle that we had with live streaming, just everybody having different mics and setups, and I could never figure out my own sound. I still feel like my sound is crap. At any rate, yes, diceshamepodcast.com. Please check it out. Please leave a review. We're at that stage where we've started it, and we could really use new listeners. So if you do listen to it, and if you do leave a review, let me know what you think. Just message me on Facebook personally and just say, tell me what you thought. And I don't know, if you do, maybe, I don't know, I don't know, I might have some sort of, maybe a code for an audiobook that I might be able to part with. I don't know per se, but if you were to do that, I would be greatly appreciative of it, and might be able to do something where I might be able to work out a deal with an audiobook. But you didn't hear that from me. Anyways, enough about Dice Shame. The heroic villain was great. I'm glad you thought so, Benjamin. That's another really fun one to do. Charles Dean is a fantastic author, and we really do enjoy. I had a blast doing the characters in that one. There's one called Linnaeus. I just try to do a bad Bender impression, or I try to do a good Bender impression, but it just comes out as a bad Bender impression. So that's Linnaeus's voice, and I love doing that. I just yell into my microphone for a good hour. Listening to it ever since. It's fun to listen to your narrator do D&D, but I understand. Any idea when you might do more of the World Tree Online, Wayward Bard, and Battlespire? Great questions, Benjamin. This is great. I'm loving this kind of Q&A session. World Tree Online, Demon Lords is in production right now with Sound Booth Theater. I have finished my narration. Lori is, all of the voice actors are going to be adding their voices over the next 2 weeks. And then it's on to post-production, baby. We're on to proofing, and then on to retakes, and then polishing. But it's moving, and I'm really excited because, dude, World Tree Online, great story. First book that I believe that EA published classic, or not classically, but on Amazon.com. A solid read, World Tree Online. A solid read with a good beginning, middle, and end. Demon Lords blows World Tree out of the water. I think that World Tree is a fantastic story, but I really was impressed with how much EA grew from book 1 into book 2. There are so many emotional connections and interesting character arcs and thematic arcs throughout book 2 that just it really sat well with me. So Demon Lords is in production right now. Keep your eyes to the ground. Keep your eyes to the ground. That's the saying. Yeah. Keep your eyes peeled and your ears also peeled. And yeah, that one will be out soon. Wayward Bard. I love having good news for you guys. Wayward Bard, we it was a long time between Wayward Bard and the Fallen Bard, and the reason for that was because Wayward Bard, one of the things that we really wanted to do was get rights to some of the songs. If you listen to the book, you know that Lars writes that this bard character is playing songs from the real world and then bringing them into this game world. And kind of like that movie Yesterday, I guess, where nobody's heard of the Beatles all of a sudden. I haven't seen it myself, but so this character from Wayward Bard has all these songs that are from the real world, and a lot of them are copywritten. A good 50-60% of them are copywritten, unfortunately. So we hired a violinist to play a lot of these songs, but we couldn't use half of them because it just the copyright, figuring that out is a pain in the ass, guys. If you ever have to figure out copyright shit, it's brutal and annoying. I don't recommend ever having to look into that because it's really tricky. Um, so for Fallen Bard, we were like, okay, we've got a list of all of these songs. We've got a few months. Let's figure this out. Let's hire someone specifically to go and figure out how to get this copyright stuff done. And it still took forever. We emailed Disney for rights to the Pied Piper, which came out like 1960 or something like that. And they took forever to get back to us. They didn't even get back to us. I don't think they have. So that shit's difficult. So, unfortunately, it was kind of in vain, that amount of waiting, that we weren't able to, get any of the copywritten stuff in there. So if you're listening to the audiobook of The Fallen Bard and you're like, "It says that he's supposed to be playing the theme from Final Fantasy here, but they're not playing anything here, like, I wish they could." The reason is copyright. We don't want to, screw with any of the legal stuff. So yeah, we weren't able to do that, but we did the recording session, myself and Michelle. The audiobook's done, and so we were just waiting on the recording session. We wanted to copyright stuff first, no longer doing that, but there's still a great amount of audio that is improvisation, composed pieces that Michelle and I put together. Michelle is the violinist, and classical pieces, baroque pieces, Arcangelo Corelli, the Bach Chaconne, some really technically demanding pieces. And it just so happens that one of my oldest friends happens to be one of the best Baroque violinists in Toronto. She didn't say that, but I'm saying it. She's exceptionally good. And I'd love to play you guys a sample here right now, but I don't know how to do that. But anyways, Fallen Bard, we're going to be uploading that to ACX next week. So if you haven't listened to The Wayward Bard by Lars M, I highly recommend you go check it out right now on audible.com. It's a lot of fun. It's a good little mystery, and good lore based um lore-based lit RPG where if you are interested in learning about the details of a world and how the races are interacting with one another, and the history of how certain places came to be within the game world, then I highly recommend you check it out because book 2 is going to be coming out soon, either the end of January or the beginning of February. That's when you can expect it. So that's the Fallen Bard. I think that's pretty much it. Let us see. Any idea when you might do World Tree? That's it. Music of Wayward Bard was so good. And Benjamin understands. So I think we're ready to actually get into the reading. And I said I was going to do a Dungeons of Perdition first. So I'm going to do Dungeons of Perdition first by Abhishek Basu. And I got to tell you, it feels so much better to be doing this without a fucking cold, without my throat drying up on me and me coughing. You know what? Screw that. Save it. And, you know, running late. No, I'm not running late. Nope, I'm here. Someone asked if I was running late on Facebook. I'm going to reply to Tori Wilson. Nope. Stream running fine. Okie dokie. So, Tori Wilson, if you're here, just say hello so I know that you're in. You're in. Okay. Okay, so we got Dungeons of Perdition, Book 1, Before Apocalypse. Characters. Natalie White, one of the main POV protagonists. She wakes up and finds herself in an asylum with no memory of how she got there. Ooh, spooky. An asylum. Is she crazy? Is she sane? Is she there by mistake, or is something else going on? Evan, an 8-year-old kid, NPC. I love how there's no well, yeah, there's no oh, there wasn't any for Natalie White either. I don't know much about their personalities right now. I'm going to assume that Natalie doesn't want to be in an asylum, so I can, work that into her character. An 8-year-old kid, I mean, there are different types of 8-year-old kids. They're not completely the same, but I think I'll be able to just suss out how this Evan character is supposed to be played. All right, let's get into the mood. 7 days, 6 hours until the apocalypse. Heinlein Asylum, Tholos, 6:13 p.m. A bright green source of light, shining. That light bulb was the first thing Natalie saw when she opened her eyes. The dazzling light felt like it was piercing a hole in her head. She squinted, clutching her forehead in her hand. The pain felt unreal. She tried looking away, but the headache refused to cease. Holding her head with one hand, she stood up, placing her other hand on the floor. She could feel the cold concrete floor with its uneven ridges pushing against her feet. She looked around and saw that she was behind bars. Thick rods of steel separated her from her cell and the dark hallway in front of her. She tried to remember where she was, but couldn't remember anything. That's when she saw a dark, transparent screen with glowing greenish-blue borders appear in front of her vision. The following words appeared. "Welcome to Dungeons of Perdition. How do you feel?" "Uh, Where am I?" Natalie said the words aloud as it echoed in the silence. For a brief moment, she heard a mumbling sound coming from the hallway, followed by the distant sound of footsteps. Wherever she was not alone. The screen in her vision went blank, and new words appeared. "You need not say the words aloud. Saying the words aloud will alert the guards, and you will never be able to escape this asylum. Let's try this again. Use your thoughts to communicate with me. Think and reply." Natalie wasn't sure what was happening. In her entire life, or what she could remember, despite a headache that felt like 1,000 hangovers combined, she didn't remember doing anything that would land her in the situation she was in. She tried to remember who she was, but all her memories felt like a canvas covered in smoke, refusing to reveal themselves. Is this a dream? Was she going insane? The words disappeared and reappeared on the screen as soon as she asked this question, using her conscious thoughts. "No, this is not a dream. Where am I? What is this place? What am I doing here? Why am I behind bars?" Natalie waited as the screen went blank again. "Slow down, child. Those are too many questions. Your head should have stopped hurting by now. Are you feeling better?" The words on the screen were right. Her headache had disappeared. Yes, she thought. The screen in her vision went blank again, and new words appeared. "I'm Aurora. Welcome to my world, Natalie White. I am your god. This is your world now. You must save it. But first, You need to escape this asylum. The luminaries before you who have escaped are out there in Tholos, living their life, completing quests, and trying to save the world. Natalie felt a cold gust of wind flow past her body. She looked ahead and saw an open window at the end of the hallway. It seemed to have similar thick rods that formed shadows on the concrete floor from the moonlight. Natalie walked forward and touched the iron rods in front of her. Cold, hard steel greeted her soft palm. She tried shaking it, asking, "What is this place? Why am I here?" "We are all here because we have a duty. You are a luminary. You must save the world." "But I want to go back. I want to go home," Natalie said, with tears in her eyes while shaking the rods in front of her. The rods barely moved. "This is your home now. You have 5 minutes left. Would you like to escape this asylum and begin your path as a luminary? Or, like the ones before you who refused, would you like to sever all contact with me and stay as a prisoner forever?" I I want to escape," Natalie said, having no other choice. The distant footsteps started echoing louder in the hallway. "Very well. I know you have it in you. This is Evan. I have opened his cage and told him to find you. He will show you how to get out. Follow him closely." The screen disappeared from her vision. Natalie looked ahead and saw no one. Then she heard a voice say, "Hey, I'm here to help you." Natalie walked towards the iron bars. She looked sideways and saw a little boy in a blue sweater talking to someone in the cage next to her. The boy had yellow hair, and despite wearing a red, oversized sweater, he wore yellow shorts underneath. "You're Natalie, right?" he said, looking at the cell in front of him. A man growled back, which startled him. Natalie expected her savior to be older, and not a child who didn't seem older than 8. But if this was the Evan that was going to help her escape, she had to take her chances. Natalie clapped her hands and called out to him. "Hey, kid, come here." She said the words just loud enough for the boy to hear, but not loud enough to echo in the hallway. She saw her look at him and smile. She saw her look at him and smile innocently. "Ah, there you are. What are you doing here? What is this place?" "This is Heinlein Asylum. I'll help you escape. We need to hurry up." "But how? How do you know my name?" "I can speak with the gods. Aurora told me to help you." Natalie paused and kept looking at the kid in front of her. "What if I say no?" "Then I'll go back and you'll be stuck here for a long time," the boy said, as if he knew everything all along. He continued, "Trust me, you do not want that. There were others before you who chose to stay. They're still here, rotting in cages to this day." Natalie didn't know what to do. Would she be safer inside a cage, or trust a child to help her break out of the asylum? She rolled her eyes, hoping to bring the screen down. It worked. She discovered that if she focused her vision near the bottom, she could scroll through screens and open different tabs, navigating through each option using just her thoughts. "What are you waiting for? We don't have much time!" Evan screamed, grabbing the bars with his tiny hands. "Wait a minute," Natalie said, scrolling through each screen. One of the screens said, "Player Statistics." She clicked on it. A screen appeared with her name on the top. Natalie White, player statistics, level 0, XP 0, 100 XP needed for level 1. Health 70%, energy 0 out of 100, stamina 0, strength 0, intelligence 0, agility 0. "This seems like a video game," Natalie muttered to herself. At the corner of the screen, she saw an icon which said, Send prayer. She clicked on it, and instructions appeared. Fold your hands, close your eyes, and think about your prayer. If Aurora is not busy, she will help you. Ah, I'm not supposed to be here. Is this a game? Am I wearing an immersion rig right now? Exit game. Shut down, Natalie thought while closing her eyes and folding her hands. She thought about whether she was religious in her previous life. What are you doing? Now is not the time to pray. We have to go, Evan said, rattling the iron bars. Natalie waited for a reply. The screen overflowed with text. You're not dead. If you're lucky, you will avoid death in this world. Death always brings with it a journey to your hell. I need to go. Bye, Evan said, and started walking away. No, wait, Natalie said, and closed her screen. Just tell me what to do. No, it's too risky now. Please, I can't be here. Please don't go, Natalie pleaded, hoping the little boy would show mercy. Dungeons of Perdition, Book 1, Before Apocalypse, by Abhishek Basu. Hey, that was pretty cool. I like that. It's creepy. Waking up in an asylum of all places. Asylums are creepier than prisons. I think that's just a rule. I think we can just straight up, write that down, carve it into the halls of truth, that asylums are creepier than prisons. At least that's how I view it. I mean, which is kind of, I feel like that's kind of, the media has kind of portrayed asylums as these really dark, crazy places. Um, and I mean, I've worked in, you know what, I'm just going to leave it there. I'm going to say something offensive. I know it's going to happen. What'd you guys think of that? Thank you, Abhishek. That was great. Really well written. Congratulations. Are you writing something now? Do you do horror lit RPG? Is that your main gig, or is that where your interests lie? Horror? It felt like this was horror. I don't know if I completely misread it, and it was like supposed to be, joyful and you know, vibrant and colorful, but I pictured very dark. I pictured, Dead Space, Call of Cthulhu, like Arkham Asylum sort of thing. Hmm. Thank you very much, Yoshi. Appreciate your complimente. This is fun. I'm loving this. I love streaming when I'm not sick. That's the main thing. And also when I don't have to prepare too much. It's the stress. It's all, you know what? The streaming itself is always more fun than the prep towards a stream. And luckily, we have Danny Katz, who does a lot of work for Sound Booth Theater Live, getting everything prepared and getting the sources from the authors. So thank you, Danny. I don't know if you're listening right now, but your work is very much appreciated. Let's see. When does it come out? Your wife loves horror movies. Yeah, out a sec. Have you got leads on a narrator for this? Are you doing a have you been approached by any of the narration people? Did you want to say? Are you willing to disclose? Um, has it already been done? Let me look it up. Let's see here. All right. Yeah, so it looks like this needs some reviews. We've got 5 ratings right now for Before Apocalypse Dungeons of Perdition. So hey, if you guys are looking for a lit RPG horror, if that piqued your interest, then I highly recommend you check out the ebook. Definitely has a lot of horror elements. Definitely dark. Awesome. I love that. I kind of I crave that sort of content now. 'Cause a lot of lit RPG is very, like, action, fantasy, sci-fi, like, explosions and intrepid adventurers sort of thing. But, I'm less, I have a craving for that dark, mysterious, subdued, tense vibe. So that was great. Well done, Abhisek. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Abhisek Basu. Um, please correct me if not. Now, so we've been doing this for about 35 minutes, so it's time to move on to the next one. I think I want to keep Animal Kingdom Riot for the end, and let's do Sergei Katz's piece next. So, Sergei Katz wrote a book called Changing World: How It All Began, which it seems to me, I could be completely wrong, but I'm getting a bit of a apocalyptic vibe from just the title of that. Changing World, Sergey. Surge. There we go. Sergey Katz. Let's read the synopsis. Okay, so he's entered the ultimate VR MMO, but will a glitch prevent him from leaving with his sanity? Unable to see color, smell, or taste, Dave longs for a more vibrant life. So when he learns of a Japanese company seeking beta testers in a unique full immersion game, he jumps at the chance to escape his bland monochromatic world. But when a code error causes him to skip the tutorial, he's thrown into play with no skills, racing to restore his health points. With only weeks remaining before he loses access to the project and the vivid senses he's finally gained, Dave teams up with a young archer and a clever shapeshifter. Desperate to extend his playtime, the trio quests for a magical stone. But while battling madness in a bizarre fairy forest where killer spirits want his head, he must fight for his very identity. Can Dave expand his game world abilities and defy the gods themselves? Changing World Origin is the first book in the thrilling Changing World lit RPG fantasy series. If you like well-developed worlds, heroes leveling up, and realities bending with magic, then you'll love Sergei Katz's amazing universe. Buy Changing World Origin to enter an exciting virtual dimension today. Cool read up. Let's get into the script. So, the MC, his totem bird, and 10-year-old boy Alex are on task from fortune teller Yaga to get alcohol from a strange elf alchemist. The elf just recently was able to make new receipt, but he owes Yaga one favor, and she decided to use it to fill her bar and get all precious liquid for herself. The girls are in this scene for introduction and will be major part of story later. So, character personalities, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 characters. The main character is D. He's a 35-year-old man from the real world playing this game as an early beta tester. He has an analytical mindset rather, and a do-it-now personality, and is very creative. So kind of a more assertive, let's plow through and work until the thing is done. Alex is on a quest to save his life. This 10-year-old boy knows how to survive and is good with the bow. He knows a lot, but he's still a boy. So that's the archer he was talking about. Odd looking elf. A strange looking elf with a passion for alchemy. He is not a standard elf by any means. Both his talking, beard, and love to alchemy make him more like gnome, but still, he should have some kind of elven voice. Ria is sexy 160 centimeters girl with a squirrel tail. She is straightforward in her talking, has no sentiments, and can embarrass you by straight questions. She talks very fast and wants it all now. She is quiet, but dangerous. So she's quiet, but when she talks very fast. Lithiel. She is Elda. Think of this race like very high society elf. Ah, Elda. Mm. More powerful, better understanding world. Hate, cock the nose attitude, but still friendly to Dee and Alex because she believes that if Rhea likes someone, he must be a good person. So I kind of get the mother hen vibe. She's looking out for her friend Rhea, but she's very morally high grounded. Um, very judgmental from her high horse. And Rhea is a little bit quieter, a little bit more innocent, but lots of like straightforward questions. Okay. All right. Let's do this. Any questions before I start? Let's take a quick look-a-rooney. Getting series out. Book 2 goes on January 15th. Oh, good stuff. Add it to your list. There are a few books. January 15th, guys. January 15th. Book 2 comes out for Abhishek Basu's Dungeons of Perdition. So now's a good time to read book 1 because you'll get book 2 soon. Add it to your list. There are a few books before it, but you will review it. Thank you, Tori. Take a trip to Alcatraz. Yeah, yeah, that's true. I guess Alcatraz is a pretty scary place. Happy reading. Anyone else going to read it? If I had more time, I would just read it, but I have to listen to books as you're driving most of the time. Yeah, I get that. I get that. You only do audiobooks now because you don't have time anymore, but we'll buy it for my friend. Oh, that's nice. That is nice. You know what? The more you support the authors who are indie authors who are a lot of them have full-time jobs that um they're the more you do that, the more you're adding to lit RPG as a genre. You're voting with your dollar. So I do that sometimes too. Like if a book I know I'm not going to be able to read it, but I think I like what the author's about and I would like to see more of their work. I'll just grab it. I'll just buy it knowing that I'll never read it, and, yeah, just, knowing that that money's going to a good place, it feels good. Okie dokie, let's do this. Changing World. No, let's get into this. Changing World: How It All Began by Sergei Katz. The three of us moved quickly through the forest. Ahead of me, Alex and the totem were playfully wiping out enemies that we had come across before. My help wasn't required at all. They had become close friends and had some sort of a challenge between them to prove which one was the coolest. To this day, I have still no idea of what the rules of the game were, but they apparently were quite comfortable with what was going on between them. At the same time, they were working together as a team. When the boy fired off a good arrow, my copper wing rejoiced with him, and vice versa. Since I wasn't needed in the fight anyway, I decided to create a new wild magic spell. I really didn't appreciate how fast the Yeti crab had got to me. Also, his master's speed of movement during the battle, when he was roughly equal to me in strength, had been very impressive. So I needed a new control spell, which I could apply anywhere and any time, preferably something that could slow down my opponent. However, I needed something from nature to create a wild magic spell. We stopped again. When Alex and my totem were busy fighting a gray bear, I looked around, deep in thought. There was nothing but trees and bushes, branches, moss, and mushrooms surrounding me. Of course, I could weave the tree branches together to keep the enemy out, or at least to slow them down, but it's rare to find trees in the steppe lands, meadows, and fields. It was even worse in populated areas. Then I noticed Alex, who was fighting the bear, had slipped on the grass. It dawned upon me. There it was. Problem solved. Grass was growing pretty much everywhere, and where it didn't grow, there were usually no trees or bushes either. Even in a city, there was usually a park or an area of grassland. Now, all I had to do was to actually create the spell. To begin with, I chose a hummock where there was a lot of grass towering around 20 centimeters above the ground. The first thing I tried to do was to draw a thread of mana along the outer edge of the hummock, connecting the blades of grass. About 10 minutes later, I realized that this approach wasn't going to work. Naturally, this experiment was easier for me than the very first time I tried it with the mushrooms, but the grass was still too short and too numerous. So clearly, this method wasn't going to be effective. I thought to myself, what if I simply use 4 blades of grass as a base and cover them with a sheet of mana? I wasn't successful at first, and I even sat down in the lotus pose to make it easier for me to concentrate. While I was trying to stretch the mana and put it where I needed it, the sounds of the battle subsided. My research had completely occupied my mind. Centimeter by centimeter, I stretched mana out completely. Oh, I stretched mana out behind me, covering a patch of grass. Soon I realized that 4 blades of grass were insufficient to create a base, so I doubled this, creating 2 squares offset from each other. It was hard to cover both areas with mana at the same time. I became frustrated with the grass, mana, and myself, so I ripped my creation in half and made 2 separate square shapes covered in mana. They weren't ideally shaped, but they turned out okay. Now I needed to activate them somehow, so I poured more mana over the structure that I had created. Nothing happened. Have all my efforts really been a waste of time? I felt frustrated. My intuition kept to itself, but I had been hoping that it would point me in the right direction. There was no point pouring out more mana. This I was sure of. The area of grass that I had been testing literally sparkled from the mana I had poured over it already. What is it that I'm missing? If I had a magic wand, then I could simply wave it, but I don't have one. So what am I supposed to do? I clucked my tongue out of habit. This was something that I had always done when I was very focused, but didn't seem to be getting anywhere. I hadn't done it so far in this world, but I was beginning to feel like I was fitting in here. To my surprise, this odd habit of mine was exactly what the spell was missing. The clucking served to activate the spell, and the patch of grass became viscous and shone with a strange glow. You have invented a shining grass spell. The cost of the spell varies depending on the amount of grass under the spell. It will cost 15 mana per square meter. Your enemy is disoriented by the glow from the grass. There is a 10% chance that its strike will miss you, and a 20% chance that a magician will not be able to finish this spell, and he will have to start again. The spell will be active for 1 minute. Wow, so you also can create spells without anybody else's help? Naturally, Alex was very impressed. Yes, I can, I sighed. Creating the spell had drained all of my energy to the last drop. Unfortunately, it didn't turn out quite as planned. I only wanted the spell to slow my enemies down, but instead I created a spell that disorients everybody around it. But you made it work! Alex couldn't understand why I wasn't upbeat. Even my totem was celebrating my success. My bird flew over the glade and then flew into the zone of disorientation before flying out of it again. When my totem flew into the area covered by the spell, his vision became confused and the movements of his wings went from smooth to jerky. Having said that, he appeared to find the experience enjoyable. After the spell lost its power, my irrepressible totem flew off in search of new challenges. How close are we to the elf? I looked at the boy. Maybe another half-hour's travel? I checked my internal body clock. It was 11:17. Bingo! I checked the last lines of the log, making sure that everything was in order. My internal body clock indicated that I still had time, plus 1 point, 15. Since now on I was able to see the hour, as well as the exact minute of time. We only have 43 minutes before noon, I told Alex. So let's get a move on. And from here on out, drop the competitive behavior. Drop the competitive behavior between you and my copper wing. From now on, I'll fight alongside you. Just out of interest, how can you work out how much time we have left when you don't have a watch? How do you do that? I don't really have an explanation. The boy was embarrassed. One of the hunters had a magic watch, and he taught us how to work out what time it was. He always told us how much time had passed from one moment to another. Ever since then, I'm usually able to be accurate within plus or minus 15 minutes. You're joking, aren't you? Plus or minus 15 minutes and we could arrive too late. You're talking so calmly, but we can't afford to be late. The boy turned pale. Faster! I shouted and jerked in the direction that my totem had already disappeared towards. The forest suddenly ended, and we flew out of it breathlessly. A tree stru- a tree s- bleh. Excuse me. A tree stump stood at the edge of the forest. It didn't look like anything special. It was about a meter high and probably 3 or 4 times wider than me. There were a lot of different laboratory glasses on the stump and some strange looking equipment. It looked like the laboratory of some crazy chemist. All of this was under control of a disheveled little chap with a coal black beard that reached to the ground. He constantly moved around the stump, and now and then he mixed and poured something from one laboratory glass to another. His beard didn't seem to get in the way. Oh, hello, Alex. The man smiled when he saw the boy. You have even you have even brought me a new guest. This is a cause for a celebratory drink. I didn't even have time to respond before Alex and I were handed a laboratory glass, each containing some sort of orange-colored drink. The man with the long beard was already holding one in his hand. Pleased to meet you, the man announced, and he threw down the contents in one gulp. Alex also drank his own drink, even if a little cautiously, indicating that refusal was not an option. What must be is what must be. I drank mine down as well. What can I say? Top quality moonshine. I wonder how does he make it? I wonder. Oh, that's probably a thought. What can I say? Top quality moonshine. I wonder, how does he make it? Gee, I'm the odd looking elf. Are you really him? I was surprised. This guy looked nothing like an elf. Everybody knew that elves didn't have beards. The odd looking elf was enjoying himself immensely at the effect he was having. It looked like he really enjoyed meeting new people. Ah, are you surprised? By the way, I'm called the Odd One by most people, or just the Elf. I'm comfortable with being called that. How do you like my new beverage? Ah, yes, it's a great drink. I was honest. Only the color somehow does not match the flavor. Do you really think so? I agree with you. So that's why I'm working on it now. This is my pride and joy, so this batch is not for sale. I don't know when I will produce a new boil because there are so many rare ingredients involved. Give it 5 minutes and the final version will be ready, and I guarantee that the color will be cleaner. I'm sorry, Elf, Alex sighed, but we're here on behalf of the fortune teller. She told us, oh, you bleep! She's nothing but a bleep, bleep, bleep. What a weasel she is. I still had hopes that she would be better than the previous wretch. She demands the things that are the most precious to me. I should have paid her off in either cash or other herbs. The elf was almost in tears when he went back to what he was working on with his work stump. I felt like someone was watching me. I looked around and realized that we weren't the only visitors of the odd looking elf. There were 2 girls in the clearing. They were really something else. They were 2 exceptional examples of the opposite sex. The first was an incredibly beautiful elven. There was no mistake about it. She was tall, with a perfect figure, large emerald eyes, and slightly elongated ears. The minute that the second girl noticed my attention, she emanated a powerful energy even though she hadn't moved. To describe her as a girl wouldn't be really accurate. On the one hand, she was around 1 meter 60 tall, with the shape of a perfect model. She had a fiery red head of hair and amber eyes, but also squirrel-looking ears and a tail. I could see the handles of 2 swords behind her shoulders. I got the impression that she was incapable of keeping still for more than a second. Greetings to you, newcomer. Aren't you a good-looking one? The tail of the squirrel girl started wagging like one of a playful dog. Do you already have a girlfriend? Do you like my tail? Do you want to stroke it? Rhea, stop it. We haven't even been introduced yet, and you are already trying it on with him. The elven girl stopped her friend. Oh, but he's just so cute. To my relief, the restless creature switched her attention to Alex. Can we be friends? You can stroke my ears if you like. Yes, just like that. The elven girl and I looked at the blushing boy and the squirrel girl that seemed to be on fire. Oh, who's saying this? She's a Belvin, and they're all like that. They can't keep still for a second, especially when they meet someone new. What if it happens to be an enemy? I asked. Oh, who's this talking? They can sense enemies from a mile away. They have an animal instinct, and they deal with them without a second thought. Even a fight with a blood enemy is no more than a game to them. They never take anything seriously. My name is D. I introduced myself. This is my friend Alex, and over there, by the elf, is my copperwing. My name is Lithiel. You have a very good totem. A totem? Where? Oh, a totem? Where? Oh, aren't you a cute one? It looked like Alex had got off lightly. Belvin's attention shifted to my totem. How did you know that he wasn't a pet? I asked the girl. It's one of my abilities, she replied. It seemed that it wasn't worth continuing this topic. The girl answered only out of politeness, and at the same time she did so in a restrained manner. Sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. I only asked out of interest. No, Dee, I understand that you are a newcomer, and as such, you don't know how this world functions yet. I considered myself fortunate to meet someone like you at the very beginning of my journey. There are only few of you in the world right now, and so far, your potential impact is unclear. At this point in time, we have no idea what you will bring to us, good or evil. No one has yet decided whether we should be friends with you or just use you for your own benefits. Not everyone here is as friendly as me and Rhea. Oh, this is Lithiel. Not everyone here is as friendly as me and Rhea. And to be completely honest, my friendliness is based only on the fact that Rhea really likes you. The girl blushed as she spoke, implying that it wasn't only the squirrel girl that had found me attractive. Hey, I wasn't against virtual relationships, especially since I didn't expect anything else in the near future. I hope we can find other reasons to be friends. I smiled at the girl. Here are your elixirs. The odd-looking elf unceremoniously pushed himself between us and gave one of the girls a bag with quite a few flasks of liquid. Here, take these as we agreed. The elven girl took some berries that I had never come across before out of her bag. Fantastic! The odd-looking elf was extremely pleased with the exchange. It's time for us to leave. Lithiel nodded to me and called to her friend. Rhea, we need to go. The Belvin stopped cuddling the happy bird and let him go. Let your path be easy, Dee. I hope we will meet again soon and we can travel together. I really hope so too, Lithiel. It was a pity, of course, that the girls were leaving. I was hoping to persuade them to join us on Alex's quest, but we both had other plans. They obviously had their own quest to complete, and a limited time to get it done. Oh, who's speaking? You will have to wait for a while because I still have to file some flasks with my beverage. The old woman guessed right. She knew that I would have something worth having and when it would be ready. I was hoping to drink this elixir in the evening and come up with a good name for it. Sometimes clients come to me and describe what elixir they're looking for and which color they want it to be. Many can't remember what exactly it is that they want and which color they want it to be, and it can take me several days to figure out what they are after. I can't get everything right the first time, even for myself. I can mix the same ingredients 10 times, and I still rarely produce what I want. Until I came up with a name for it, the product will never be consistent. Well, you can call this one Orange Spirit, I blurted out without thinking. That's a brilliant suggestion. Spirit kind of means ghost. I can't remember where I came across such a word before, but that doesn't matter for now. Mumbling something under his breath, the elf started bottling an almost transparent drink. I'm just wondering, where did you hear this from? The game was created by the Japanese, but it seemed the Russians also had some influence, so it's no surprise at all that old woman Yaga was giving me quests at this point. Dee, did you see how beautiful she was? Alex asked me. Who are you even talking about? The elven girl? I grinned. Or do you prefer the Belvin? Belvin, of course. The young man blushed. What elven are you talking about? Did I really get carried away this much? I didn't think it was possible, but Alex started getting even more embarrassed. No, you didn't miss anyone. I'm talking about Lithiel. His embarrassment instantly disappeared, and the boy looked in the direction that the girls had disappeared. Never call her that again! She's not an elf! Well, yes, I grinned. She bears no resemblance at all to our odd-looking friend. No! The young boy didn't even smile. This is no joke. She is an Elda, and they're nothing like the elves at all. If you don't want to find yourself facing a bloody enemy for life, then this is something that you need to remember. The Eldas despise the elves. They are wanderers and have the strongest magic of all. Compared to them, elves are nothing but conjurers. Wow, I felt like I had made a fool of myself. Thanks for the tip, Alex. So, are you telling me that all elves are bearded and unwashed? Absolutely not! The odd-looking elf once again unceremoniously interrupted us. I'm the only one that looks like this. It's a curse from my previous fortune teller for not giving her what she wanted. At first I became depressed and I almost stopped my experimenting. However, one day some hair from my beard fell into one of the lab flasks, and this resulted in something unexpected. Then I realized that this was a gift, not a curse. These days, I'm not even looking to get rid of this curse. I actually have come to like my beard. But you have become an exile among your folks. Alex added to the elf's tale. Yes, I've always been in exile, though, but now it's no longer a secret. I never liked balls, dances, or music. I never wrote poetry and didn't paint pictures with morning dew. I wasn't ever interested in any of that. Oh, and I would like to thank you, newcomer. Your suggestion pushed me to solve the problem of how to call my elixirs. I will name every new elixir after one of the spirits. But this will mean that I will need to do a lot of traveling. So, next time you come here, I will be gone. But when we meet again, I will reward you with something special as a thank you. I don't know what kind of elixir it will be, but I swear by my beard it will be a worthy one. In the meantime, take this. I was solemnly presented with a 12-liter flasks of the orange spirit. Pass on a message to the old wretch that I am no longer in her debt, and next time I will not be so naive. It would be better for both of us if it never happened again. Continuing to mumble to himself, the odd-looking elf went back to the tree stump. My copper-winged friend was flapping his wings impatiently before my eyes, and Alex seemed to be anxious to get back on the move, too. All right, we're going back to the fortune teller. We're done here, I commanded. Changing World, How It All Began by Sergei Katz. That was fun. That reminded me of I did one narration that I had a blast with. It was Transformation by Valery Starsky, which is available on Audible. It was I could definitely tell that there was a with Sergei's, at least, that the translation, that it's interesting that certain phrases in Russian don't translate literally to English, and so what what I found with the script, one of the reasons that I had so much fun with it, there would be some slightly different turns of phrases that were like, I know what the English version is, but it's kind of refreshing and fun to have this kind of um just a different version of that. Like, I think in this one it was what it must be, I think is what was said. and it's fun. I had a lot of fun. The thing with transformation was that I it really struck me as like so over the top and just like it really reminded me of like a an Evil Dead or Hot Shots or like Naked Gun. Like it's just so ridiculous and so many crazy things happen. I might have just gotten a complete misread on that. Maybe like it was supposed to be much more intense, but I read it and I was just like, oh, this is so much fun um as something that doesn't take itself too seriously, you know? And there were lines where I was like, okay, maybe I shouldn't be treating it this way. Maybe I should be giving it like the like actual action sequence. But there were some lines that like there's a line that's just like I almost peed myself is one of the lines. And I just like howling with laughter, just like this is funny. This script is funny. And so I couldn't give it the like intense, you know, the world is ending apocalypse sort of tone that I initially thought it would have. I had to give it more of a heroic kind of satirical. And then Yaroslav went to the airport and found himself a beautiful woman. You know, just a little bit more of that camp, the campiness I wanted to pull out, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to do that. If you want to hear what I'm talking about, it is available on audible.com, transformation online. But in the meantime, this was Changing World by Sergey Katz, and it is available on amazon.com. I don't know, Sergey, if you are here. Are you here, Sergey? Yay, nay, nay, yay. Doesn't look like it. Well, anyways, check this out. Give it a read if you enjoyed the little sample there. Let's see. Let's take a look at the comments here. You only do audiobooks, yes. Gunmeister Online. Gunmeister Online. Will there be a second book? That's a great question. We are actually producing a Noah Barnett book right now. It's in the proofing stage at the moment. It's called Nigmus Online, and I just listened to a bit of it yesterday. It's pretty interesting. So I don't believe it's harem. I think it's more of a lit RPG. I think there's romance elements in it, and that's narrated by Annie Ellicott. So I recommend you check that out. We got a lot of projects on the go right now, guys. Lots of projects. That's going to be a really good quarter for the first year. We got Shadow Sun 2. You know what? Since you guys are here, since you're watching, I'm just going to pull up my project management tool here, and I'm going to just run through. Somebody actually asked today in Sound Booth Theater whether or not we can make a list. And this is the best I'll do. I'm not going to make a formal list of what we're working on and what is going to be coming out soon. But all right, let's start. I'm just going to start now. Supers 6 is in production. The Fallen Bard is in production. They're almost done. Shadow Sun 2 is in the final stages of production. Greystone 4, another Dave Wilmarth, is in the final stages of production. We've got Adventurer Academy by Daniel Prince, which is going to be going into the final stages within the next couple of weeks. Like I said, Nigmus Online, that is getting close to the final stages. We've got Demon Lords, which is still kind of in the middle of the process, but it shouldn't be too long. Probably within the next couple months, it'll be available. We have Messenger Chronicles 4 is in production. This isn't Sound Booth Theater, but I'm currently working on Afterlife Online. We've got there's got to be more than that. There's got to be more than that. We got Feedback Loop 6 is coming your guys' way soon. We've got the box set for Supers. Books 1 to 4 coming out soon. I'm going to be starting on Kingdom Come after. Oh no, these aren't in production yet. But those, I think that's like 10 titles that I just listed there. Those are all in production, so it's going to be a good January, February for Sound Booth Theater releases. Keep your eyes peeled. Hey, Sin's Corner. Yes, yes. So Sin did the proofing. Sin is our lead proofer and editor at Sound Booth Theater, and so she gets to proof all of these projects. And Yes, she did proof, transformation as well, and there are some golden lines in that book. I highly recommend you check it out and just listen for these gems of, I don't know if it's intentional or if it's something that's kind of lost in translation, but, I love them. I think that they're beautiful, um, and I almost peed myself. It was just so unexpected. Um, yeah, it's great. Very weird question, but when you do harem books, do some scenes make you horny? You don't have to answer if it's too personal. You know you do though. It's pretty personal, Yoshi. But I'm going to say, yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, if the author's doing a good job, which I think that harem authors, like, they develop practice and stuff. Sometimes when you're getting into it, like when you're acting, you're getting into the mindset of these characters and you're trying to emote with them. So if you're trying to do a scene that is, a hot and heavy scene and you're not getting a little turned on, then I don't it's not going to come across that sex scene isn't going to sell as well as if you allow yourself to get into it, so to speak. So it is yeah, to answer your question, yes, I do. And it makes my acting better, I think. As long as I don't get too steamy, like, oh yeah, I won't go into demonstrations. Ooh, box set. Just can't do 5-hour books. That's just too much for so little. I hear you. And the way Audible is set up, I mean, you're paying, still the same amount of money for a smaller book for less payoff. So you're really rewarded when you purchase books that are several hours long. I think that the box set for Supers is going to I think it's gonna be very popular because we're doing 4 books instead of 3. So you're gonna get over 20 hours of audio in that, which is like that's that's a lot of, kinda that's a lot of sex scenes. That's 20 hours worth of sex scenes. Well, it's not all sex scenes. It's I would say Supers is like an 80-20. The sex scenes are, not as, it's not all the time, okay, at least, you're not alone. This conversation never happened. No, it happened. This is gonna be on the internet for the rest of my life, probably. So, yeah, it happened. There you go. Boom. We're humans. We have feelings. We get turned on by things, all right? There it is. There's the truth. Don't be afraid of that. We don't have to worry. It's okay. This is something that I do think about sometimes because I use my name. I don't use a pseudonym on harem titles. Whatever. I mean, it's not. I don't think that there's anything ethically wrong with the books that I'm reading. Sometimes I'm just like, like, okay, that's not. I might disagree with the characters, but the books that I've read, the Cherry Blossom Girls and Supers, they're pretty ethically, like, the authors do take a lot of time thinking about, okay, are the characters' emotional needs looked after? And sometimes it's I feel like it's like, okay, well, is someone really the emotions are maybe too looked after? Like, no, not even that. What I'm saying is that I think that authors put a lot of time and energy into it's important for harem authors to put time and energy into making sure that they are treating the sex scenes and um yeah, they're treating the sex scenes as examples of consensual sex. I think that's the number one thing. As long as they are um the main character is rooting for um consent and all of the characters are consensual about it, I have no problem having my name associated with it. And I don't know. I haven't read too much harem. Like, I haven't read any harem besides what I've actually narrated. But I think I've been lucky in the sense that I mean Jamie Hawk and Harmon Cooper, they are both they're good guys. Like they know they're knowledgeable about um, that sort of thing. And I'm lucky that because I'm sure that there are authors out there who don't really think about that. They don't think about the consent factor, and that they're creating an image of sex and sexuality that is not going to that is going to influence a generation of readers or listeners, one way or the other, and just kind of push them towards a view of sex and sexuality that may not be the most healthy. Yeah, so I'm lucky to have read authors who are interested and do care about that, as a something to strive to express in a healthy way. Have you all ever done a complete omnibus, where do you break it down book by book? An omnibus, like for every book in the series? No, I don't believe we have. We've only done box sets, which is usually 3 to 4 books in a series. Voila. Okay, here we go. I think it's time to get to the last one now that we've talked about everything else. Let's get to the last scene. So, this is Animal Kingdom Riot, Chapter 3 by Aaron Oster. And I believe that the audiobook for book 1 is available. I'm just going to look that up right now. Excuse me. Yeah, so we have Aaron Oster. Oh, yeah, he did Starbreak. Okay, so book 1 is Somerset, narrated by Doug Tisdale Jr. And I love the cover. The cover reminds me of The Sims, and I love The Sims. So that cover gets me. Animal Kingdom Riot. Oh, Animal Kingdom Riot is also available. So, yeah. And Doug's a good narrator. I've listened to a few of his samples at least. So, um, your ear holes will be looked after. But anyways, I will give you a taste of it in my style, and if you like what you hear, you should check out Animal Kingdom Riot. Here we go. Chapter 3. Arthur crashed through the thick undergrowth, following the ever-increasing sounds of distress. Plants whipped and tore at his clothes as he ran, and he even suffered some minor damage. -1 HP, whipping branch. -1 HP, thorny vine. -1 HP, whipping branch. He lost a total of 5 HP before bursting through the tree cover and into a small clearing. Stumbling to a halt, Arthur's brows furrowed in confusion as he took in the scene. A 2-foot-long red and black centipede was thrashing around in the clearing, hissing and snapping its mandibles as it tried to catch a smallish green and brown frog. But that wasn't what confused him. What confused him was the fact that he didn't see anyone here who could have been calling for help. Arthur briefly wondered if his mind had played some sort of trick on him when the frog spotted him. To his surprise, the frog called out to him. "Please, help me! I don't want this bugger to eat me! I'm too young to die!" Arthur stared for a few long seconds, hardly believing his ears. Talking animals had most definitely not existed in the game before. Especially not Australian-sounding frogs, oh god. I can't do an Australian accent, I struggle with it, but I'm going to try for you. A quest notification flashed in his view a second later, and Arthur's eyes skimmed over the text. Quest available. A frog in need. Jeremy Hops Croaksalot has requested your aid. Will you help him? Objective. Kill the attacking centipede. Failure. Jeremy Hops Croaksalot dies. Difficulty D. Rewards 500 XP. Jeremy Hops Croaksalot will become your companion. Will you accept? Yes or no? Arthur had to suppress a laugh at the frog's admittedly ridiculous name, but he accepted the quest all the same. He had no idea where he was in the animal kingdom, and having a companion could never hurt. The notification vanished as soon as he accepted, and the attacking centipede was outlined in red, its information becoming available to him. Name: Amazonian Giant Centipede, Level 2, HP 95 out of 100. Arthur winced when he saw the mob's massive HP. The average Level 2 monster had been around 50. It appeared that this version was going to be quite a bit harder. He could feel his heart rate increase as he used Poison Touch, his hands glowing a sickly green. Then he aimed himself at the centipede and used Spring. His stamina dropped by 10, and his powerful legs coiled beneath him, launching him toward a terrifying monster. Arthur slammed bodily into the mob just as it had managed to pin the small frog down and threw it clear, sending it rolling. A damage notification flashed in his view once again, and Arthur quickly minimized it, setting notifications to only show in the corner of his vision. -3 damage, blunt. Effect triggered. AGC will suffer -1 HP per second for 10 seconds. Arthur winced as he watched his own HP drop by 2. Slamming into a heavily armored body with a soft, fleshy one wasn't the greatest idea. Oh, God. Thanks, mate. Thought I was a goner there. Oh, God. Fucking Australian. The frog called up to him. I wouldn't thank me just yet, Arthur said grimly as the mob rolled back to its feet. I still have to kill that thing, and I don't have any weapons. The frog seemed to pale a bit at that, his throat ballooning out and releasing a fear-filled squeak. It's not all bad, though, Arthur said, trying to inject a little confidence into his voice. If I can stay alive for long enough, I can whittle down its HP. He was smart and left out the fact that he had no idea if he'd survive long enough to knock the centipede's HP to 0. He'd need to close in with the oversized anthropod several times to deal damage, and that meant getting into range of the monster. Oh, well, I can help with that, mate. Ah, the frog called to him. Great, you do that, Arthur said, only half paying attention. The centipede was hissing at him, circling slowly and clacking its mandibles. He could see its HP slowly ticking down as his racial bonus leached it away. Arthur took another deep breath, trying to calm his racing heart. 10 HP down, 85 to go. 10 HP down, 85 to go, he told himself. Piece of cake. The mob hissed, sending bubbles of foam flying from its jaws. It charged toward Arthur, its multiple legs clacking and skittering over the ground as it closed with frightening speed. Arthur sprang to one side, leading it away from the small frog. The whole point of this was to keep him alive, and seeing as he was committed, it wouldn't do to allow Jeremy Hops Croaksalot to die. Just as he'd predicted, the centipede viewed him as the bigger threat and swerved to engage him. It closed within 5 feet, then suddenly blurred forward. Arthur didn't have time to think and used spring. He launched into the air, narrowly avoiding the centipede's strike. He quickly used Poison Touch and came down on its back, slamming it with another damage over time effect. The mob hissed, whirling and dislodging him. It was only thanks to his high agility that he was able to land on his feet, and he was lucky that he managed to, as the centipede's back half came whipping around, its lethal stinger extended and its many legs flailing. Arthur yelped and dropped flat, but the stinger still caught him, shaving off 8 HP. But that wasn't the end of it. Pain burned through his arm where the stinger had cut him, pain the likes of which he'd never felt before. It burned icy cold, and his arm went momentarily numb. Before he could open his mouth to scream from the horrible pain, the sensation miraculously vanished. Debuff gained. Movement slowed by 20% for 15 seconds. Arthur cursed his bad luck, forcing himself back to his feet and leaping back to avoid the thrashing mob. The memory of the burning pain was still at the forefront of his mind, even though it had already vanished. You all right, mate? Arthur looked down to see the small frog looking up at him worriedly. Yeah, doing great, Arthur said, clenching his fists to hide the tremor. Yeah, let me give you a boost. A second later, Arthur felt a cooling sensation wash over his entire body, washing away his fatigue and topping off his HP. In addition, he gained a buff. Buff gained. Invigorated. Plus 10% to all attributes for 30 seconds. Thanks, Arthur gasped, looking down at the small frog with new respect. Don't mention it, mate. Just kill that bugger, and we'll call it even. Deal, Arthur said with a wide grin. He turned to face the centipede, which had stopped thrashing and was now charging them once again. I have to stay focused, Arthur berated himself, charging right at the mob. Just as it closed the distance, he used Spring, leaping high over its head, and used the same tactic as before, slapping on another Poison Touch. Arthur flipped off its back before Arthur flipped off its back before it could throw him again. Then he rolled to the side, avoiding its mandibles that snapped right before his face. Arthur kicked out with his strong legs, dealing a whopping -3 damage, but took a slash from the beast's sharpened mandibles, shaving off 5 of his HP. And so the battle of attrition began. He would dart in and use his poison touch, then try to avoid the centipede's counter. It was much harder than it should have been. The mob didn't seem to have any attack pattern he could follow, but it did seem to be limited to how many different attacks it could use, all of which he could avoid using his spring. He was cutting it very close. As dodging the attacks were sapping his stamina, and the frog's buff hadn't topped it up like it did his HP. Arthur had managed to shave the centipede's HP down to 8. He was panting hard by now. His stamina was almost all gone, but he had enough for one more use of spring. The centipede charged him once again, mandibles clacking. He triggered his skill, leaping high into the air. Unfortunately, it seemed that the centipede had been anticipating this. Its head followed his trajectory, and a spray of green acid shot from between its mandibles. Searing pain struck Arthur center mass, sending him tumbling to the ground. He gasped, feeling as though the acid were eating right through his flesh. -22 HP. Acid. Arthur gasped again, trying to force his legs under him to escape the follow-up he knew was coming. But he was just in too much pain. A sharp spike slammed into his chest, piercing straight through him and into the ground. -13 piercing. -13 HP. Piercing. Hold on, mate! Arthur's pain somewhat diminished as his frog buddy's buff hit him, restoring half his health. Even with the buff, he was still in a bad position. Worse, his HP had started ticking down at the rate of 2 per second. Nothing left to do but go for broke. Arthur's poison touch slammed into the centipede, dropping his HP by 1. Now it was just a matter of outlasting the damned thing. The mob missed, trying to lift its leg so it could reach him with its mandibles or stinger. But Arthur wrapped his hands around the appendage and held on for dear life. Even as the pain redoubled and his HP continuously dropped, he knew he had to. It was getting increasingly harder to concentrate as he was growing faint from lack of blood. With all the effort he was exerting, Arthur wasn't even sure if he'd live, even if he won the fight. Just as his grip was going slack and his HP dropped to 9 out of 40, the message he'd been waiting for flashed before his eyes. Amazonian giant centipede dies. Plus 50 XP. Quest completed. A frog in need. Rewards 500 XP. Jeremy Hops Croxalot is now your companion. Before he could so much as cheer in the way of celebration, he got bombarded by a slew of notifications. Level up! Congratulations, you have reached level 2. You now have 5 new attribute points to allocate. Level up! Congratulations, you have reached level 3. You now have 5 new attribute points to allocate. +1 agility, +1 endurance, +1 charisma. Ability available. Due to your repeated actions, a new ability has become available to you. Tai Frog Do. Skill available. Due to your repeated actions, a new skill has become available to you. Unarmed Frog Bat. Arthur audibly groaned when he saw the last 2 messages, but the groan had nothing to do with the centipede leg he'd just ripped from his stomach. It appeared that whoever was running this game enjoyed puns and terrible ones at that. He wouldn't be at all surprised if all his future skills and abilities would have some variant of the word frog in it. His HP, MP, and stamina had regenerated when he'd leveled up, and the small amount of damage he'd done, removing the centipede leg, was restoring itself. Before he could examine the skills that had become available to him, he felt a weight land on his chest. Arthur reacted instinctively, throwing himself to the side and jumping to his feet, a poison touch ready at his fingertips. When he looked down, instead of some attacker, was the small frog he'd saved, flipping himself onto his feet and glaring at him.
What's the big idea, mate? Not cool throwing me off like that.
Sorry, Arthur said sheepishly. You just surprised me, is all. The frog's anger melted away so quickly that Arthur had to wonder if it had been feigned.
Not to worry, mate. You did save my life, so I guess we're even. What's your name, by the way?
Arthur said, relaxing his posture and sitting down. Despite his HP being topped up, his body was still flush with adrenaline from the fight. He'd had a seriously close call, and if not for this small frog, he'd surely have died.
Nice to meet you, Arthur. I'm Jeremy Hops Croaksalot, and you can call me Hops. All my friends do.
Friends? Does that mean you live around here? Arthur asked, more to take his mind off the fact that he had nearly died than out of curiosity.
Well, I wouldn't say friends per se,
Hops said, making air quotes with two of his small fingers.
More like acquaintances. Fine, I admit it. I lied about the friends part. I really don't have any.
Arthur stared at the small frog, who was now gesticulating with his padded fingers, seeming irritated.
It's fine. I don't care if you have friends.
Oh, it's fine. I don't care if you have friends or not, he said with a shrug. I was just wondering if there was a settlement nearby.
Yep. There's any human village about a day's...
Oh, it was western now.
About a day's... What that way? Hops said, motioning behind him to the thick foliage.
Well, that's a relief. Arthur had been worried that he'd never find a settlement. Now that he had a direction and a traveling companion, his chances of survival had skyrocketed. It made almost dying just now worth it. Well, kind of. So tell me, Hops, are you from that village? And if so, what are you doing out here? Arthur asked, rising to his feet and walking over to examine the centipede corpse. Maybe he could find something useful on it.
I'm from the village, but I was frog-napped. Blasted human poachers caught me in the pond on the outskirts. No one even knows I'm gone.
Really? Arthur looked up from his examination of the centipede's mandibles to look at the small frog. How did you manage to escape? Hops waved his front leg as though it wasn't such a big deal.
A feline patrol attacked the poachers, and I managed to escape. Honestly, I'm lucky that I was able to. While the humans would have sold me off, the felines probably would have eaten me.
And how long ago was this? Arthur asked, now becoming worried.
Oh, probably about 4 hours ago.
Arthur cursed when he heard that. If Hops had only escaped 4 hours ago, that meant there could still be enemies nearby. And not the ones he'd want to run into right now. Wrapping his hands around both the centipede's mandibles, he gave a sharp yank, cracking them off. One shattered completely, leaving him holding nothing but a fragment of chitin, but the other stayed thankfully intact. Come on, he said, turning in the direction of the village. We've got to get out of here. Now.
Right you are, mate. Wouldn't want to wait around for scavengers to come for the carcass,
the frog said in a chipper voice. Then, in a single fluid motion, he hopped from the ground onto his shoulder.
Away we go!
Despite the dire situation, Arthur couldn't help but smile. There was just something about the small frog that made him laugh. Taking one last look around the clearing, Arthur took off into the trees, trying to be as stealthy as possible. Animal Kingdom Riot by Aaron Oster.
Bada bing, bada boom! There you have it. That was me trying to do an Australian accent, mate. One that I'm definitely not skilled at. But there you have it. Ever read Prax Venter? Oh, have I read Prax Venter? I narrated Irrelevant Jack. And actually, yeah, so Prax Irrelevant Jack 2 is scheduled to be narrated after Kingdom Come. I haven't read any of his what's his series? He's got a harem series. 2.0, Mark 2.0. Let's see. Not sound booth, but Jan Strivent did 2 to 3 book audiobooks straight out. I liked that a lot better. I didn't have any problem buying those. That accent, I know. You'll be listening to that book. Yeah, I think I'll add these to my to read. Hey, it's Jeff. Yeah, I know. You saying yikes at the Australian accent? Yikes. Yikes. Speaking of Australian, I just want to take a moment to say that those fires happening down there are really scary. And if anybody's in Australia right now watching, I don't know exactly how. Well, I wish you the best. Sincerely, I wish you the best, and I hope you the fires stay away from you, and for anybody who watches this. Yikes. Well, anyway, that's Jeff, who is making me. He's shaming me for my Australian accent. My Australian accent. No, I can't do it. I can't do it. Nope. Nope. It's just one that I haven't practiced. That's all it is. I just haven't taken the time. You know how it is. The script called for Australian. I wasn't gonna spend 2 hours learning how to do an Australian accent. I just got to jump into it. And I did feel better at it by the end of it than I did at the beginning. Sometimes it takes time to get into that, but still. Anyways, guys, Yoshi, Aster 86, Benjamin Wagner, Sin, Jeff, Tori Wilson, everybody who's here, thank you very much for joining. This has been Sound Booth Theater Live Requests. We listened, or Requests Only, rather. That's the name of the show. You guys heard Changing World Origin by Sergei Katz, Dungeons of Perdition by Abhishek Basu, and just recently Animal Kingdom Riot by Aaron Oster. And yeah, that's all from me. Jeff Hayes is usually the one to run this show. I kind of took over when he was away, but he's kind of, I don't know, he's floating around. He's making his presence known to you people. So it might be that the next Requests Only is back to your regular programming, is back to Mr. Jeff Hayes. But I'll be back. I'll be doing Sound Booth Theater Lives. Don't you worry. Be doing one for Kingdom Come soon, which I'm halfway through my pre-read of, and oh man, it's so good. James Baldwin, he's one hell of a writer. So if you haven't listened to the Arkham Online series, I highly recommend it. That's a lot of fun to narrate that series, and I get to produce some music for it as well. So there's some Final Fantasy-esque music, or Final Fantasy inspired music throughout the audiobooks, more so in book 2, but book 3 is going to have even more music. So oi. Oh yeah, please shoot me a message about Dice Stream. Next time it's El Jefe. Thank you guys very much once again for watching. We will see you next time, and until then, keep on putting sound waves into your ear holes. Have a great night. Oh, I should thumbs up with my left hand so that I can end the broadcast. Good night. Oh, I gotta press another button. Are you sure you want to end the broadcast? Yes. Good night.